Welcome back to the feral garden. Today we're going to have a little walk through the garden and do an autumn update. We'll look at what went well in summer and look at some of the crops that I've already put in ready for winter. See you then. Let's start our walk around by having a little look at things that have changed in the feral garden since summer. Got tuppence down the bottom, guarding the feral garden, making sure everything's nice and safe. Let's take a little walk inside. Some flowers. The idea of the marigolds is to try to attract bees. We had a lot of bees early in summer, but lately the bees seem to have found a better source of flowers. Some lettuce in this corner, plus a few other little bits and pieces, leftover seedlings. The main feature at the moment is this bean. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. It's a heritage bean. I'll put it in the description. Producing beautifully now. I thought it was a little bit late to put in a bean, but this one has been an absolute treat. And again, a heritage brand means that I can save some of the seed later for next season. In here I've got some beetroot, plus a couple of other brassicas. Had a lot of trouble with the beetroot this year. Everything I put in, I seem to lose about every second plant due to some sort of dieback, so I'm going to have to get on top of that next year. But we eventually got enough greens in here, and I'm sure we're going to get plenty of leaves for salad. We're also going to get some nice beetroots to make some chutney. In our other wicking bed, got some lovely Chinese cabbage. We've started harvesting those already for stir fries. You'll notice a bit of white in there. What I've done is added some perlite. I find the wicking beds, the soil gets very, very heavy. The perlite is designed to lighten it up, let a little more air in, let the water flow a little bit better through the plants. And as you can see by the growth in there, it seems to be working. Over here I have my kale. It's got my shadow in the way there. I'll get it out of the way. The kale's just about ready to start picking. Makes a really nice coleslaw. Got some Asian greens. Again, I've got the seeds from a seed club that I've joined recently. I'll put some of the seed descriptions in there if you're interested. And they've come up really nicely. On this side we have our aquaponics. I don't know if the fish will behave. They probably won't come up now. They've had their little bubble. I've had an hour of water bubbling away, and they tend to be a bit shy after that. But with my aquaponics, my main growing is mainly for leafy greens, especially lettuce. These ones are just about at the end. I'll get one more harvest out of those, and then the new ones are in the next bed. See, these ones are from seedlings. I didn't have time to grow these ones myself, so they just came from the local nursery, and they'll be my next batch. I always keep one bed empty, lets things die down, so if you have problems with pests and things, they tend to have no food, so they either go somewhere else or go dormant, I suppose. Down the bottom's our worms. They're going nicely. I always try to top them up. Any of our lettuce and things that doesn't make the grade goes into the worms. You get plenty of nice worm tea from that, and they have something to eat all the time. Don't have to dig down too far before you find a couple of worms and a couple of the clay balls as well in there. So they're going really quite nicely, the compost worms. As long as you keep that nice and moist, put a little bit of water on there every day. Oh, not every day, every so often. They work quite well. As we pass our aquaponics, we go to our other wicking beds. These ones are made from the IBCs. Bit of an experiment is to grow corn. I'm not real keen on growing corn. I find that it takes up a lot of space for the amount of you get out of it, the amount of cobs you get out of it. But the kids like it, so I thought I'd put some in and we'll see how it goes. Next year I might put some in and actually train some beans to climb up them, so at least they fill a double purpose. The front is my silver beet, and again that's just about ready to pick. We might be picking some of that for making something very, very soon in the garden. I've got my late zucchini, another heritage brand. Must be tasty because I've got some little mousies or something has gone and had a nibble last night. So I'll have to take those off. Here's a nice one growing underneath. And again, being a heritage brand, if I wanted to keep some seeds I would, but I'd have to grow them into a huge marrow first, so I don't know if I'll bother. At the beginning of this bed I've also tried to put in some sweet potato. I'm going to see how that goes. I know it can get a bit rampant, so we'll just a bit of an experiment, make sure that it doesn't get too far out of hand. And that's the 2 wicking beds. Now, if I go around to the experimental side over here, most of it's been cleaned up. I try to tidy it up a little bit during getting ready for winter. You see my compost shredder, got that set up ready to go whenever I need it. Over here I've got some old root pouches that I don't need at the moment. I'll use those again more in summer. The herb garden is going quite well. Don't need to do too much here, we just sort of pick what we need. In actual fact, we have to trim them back quite a lot to make sure that they don't go out of control. And speaking out of control, we've got a couple of root pouches down here. One's got a rosella, which again is a bit of an experiment for me. They normally grow in the warmer climates. As yet I've got no flowers, lots of leaves, which I understand you can pick the younger leaves and eat them like a spinach. And then down the bottom we have a lemongrass. It has gone crazy, it loves this root pouch it's in. Another experiment next to it, I put in a little finger lime. It's a little native Australian citrus. We're going to try that out and see how that goes. I like the root pouches because I can pick them up and move them wherever I like. If I think they're not getting enough sun, I can pick it up and put it into a better location. Over here, it's called the feral garden because things go crazy. These are chilies I trimmed back and they're already starting to regrow. I wanted them to sort of be dormant for most of winter, but I don't think they're going to be. Climbing up here is our Malabar spinach, or climbing spinach. Not a real spinach, but you can treat it that way. We use those when we have stir fries, and again I'll probably mix them up with the silver beet when we make things in the kitchen. So I like these root pouches, they've gone really, really well. They seem to be very successful in growing the plants, so I'll definitely continue with those. Another successful addition during summer were the wicking barrels. Over here I've moved them because they're going to get a little more light. They used to be over where the root pouches were, but these wicking barrels have proved to be very, very good, these wicking buckets. What I've done is put in different things, see if you can work out which one is the odd one out. I've got an artichoke, I've got a Cape gooseberry, I've got a blueberry and a raspberry. I don't think it's too much of a challenge. Last summer I grew tomatoes, or a tomato plant in one of these, and it grew as well as the hydroponics. So I've been very, very pleased with them. They're very easy to look after. Top them up once a week at most, and they grow really well. I've had a lot of people comment that they didn't get a very poor crop this summer, particularly of tomatoes. But here with the wicking garden, our crop was absolutely terrific. So that's a little update of the garden. I'll tell you some of my future plans to finish the video off. So I'll need to talk over those noisy birds in the background. It shows that we're in a good natural position here in the feral garden. So what are my plans for winter? Well, basically in winter we slow everything down. It's when we like to travel a bit more ourselves. And again, that was one of the reasons for putting in wicking beds, aquaponics, etc. We can go away and come back and hopefully the garden will still be in some reasonable shape. So most of the time I'm only going to be growing a few things. I don't tend to grow too much in winter, but I'm going to be getting ready for spring. Spring is when the garden will really come to life. I have some plans for a Dutch bucket system using the backup pump that I had set up, and I'll set them up for tomatoes. I found with the hydroponics, the cracky method with tomatoes was a waste of time. I had to spend so much time topping it up all the time. I need to have a constant flowing circulation if I'm going to do that again. I'm also going to be trying more heritage seeds and seed saving. I'll let you know how that goes. That's a long-term process. I even spoke to someone the other day, big thank you to Edward, and he also gave me some tomatoes that he's been hybridizing. So I'm going to try planting some of those out and see how that goes. So there's plenty of things on the move in the feral garden, but as I say, in winter we tend to slow things down a little bit. We need to enjoy the sunshine, enjoy the birds, and enjoy a beautiful day like today. So I'll see you again in the feral garden.